Shalom, shalom. Before I get into this message, I'm going to start out by giving all praises, all glory, and all honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakwa Kedash, and I want to send double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, whom rule and teach well. This is your brother Yashimai from the JMS Atlantic Camp, and this is going to be hopefully not too long, but definitely an edifying lesson going into the Northern Kingdom, so-called Hispanics and natives. Now, this is something that I pulled up here. When it comes to proving something in a court of law, the court has to show a couple things. First, they have to show motive, and then they also need to show an intent or an ability to do something. And so that's very important because that's what I'm going to aim to do here. I'm going to show the motive as to who the 10 tribes are, and I'm going to show the intent as to how the 10 tribes, or better yet, I'm going to show the intent as to why the Hispanics and the natives are the lost 10 tribes. Okay, and before we get into that, let's get Jeremiah 17:4. And it reads as follows: "And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever." Okay, so prophecy states that the Israelites, both the northern and the southern kingdom, would discontinue from our heritage. Now, what is the heritage of the Israelites? The heritage is, first of all, who we are. We are Yasharallah, princes of the power. And our heritage is also the law. You see, in a snapshot, the northern and the southern tribe both went off, and we started worshiping other idols. But all of this was prophesied. And so before we get into the lesson, I want to get down two major consensus. Okay, the first consensus, which is an agreement that the entire world has, is that one is that the human race originated in Africa, or to be more specific, or to be more broad, is that the human race started in the so-called Middle East, because that's where Africa is, right? It's in the Middle East, right? So that's the first consensus. There's no getting around that. All right. And then the second consensus is that there are 10 lost tribes. This is a quick Google search here. The 10 lost tribes of Israel are 10 of the original 12 Hebrew tribes that disappeared from history after the Assyrian conquest of the northern kingdom of Israel in 712 BC by King Shalmaneser V. So those are two consensus. Those are two inarguable facts. Now, these things have to be solidified, and these, whenever we are proving points to our people, so-called blacks, natives, and Hispanics, first off, I'll say this. The only proof that should be given, or that needs to be given, is the scripture. Okay, scripture shows who the lost 10 tribes are, all right? That's the first and foremost. But the fact of the matter is that our people are simple, and that our people in this land of confusion, Babylon, our people, we need to show them, we kind of need to guide their hand. And I don't mean this disrespectfully, because I know some brothers and some sisters have had to had their hand held into the truth. And I mean, that's fine, But so when we get these two consensus, it makes it easier for our people to see, okay, well, yeah, that's true because this is what we were taught. That's true because I've heard this. Okay. So these are two consensus. Okay. There are 10 tribes that were lost after the Assyrian captivity. And right now, even in the illusion of Babylon, those fake small hatters, they themselves acknowledge this, and that's why they only claim to be Jewish, right? Ish meaning kind of like, and Jew coming from Judah, the southern tribe. So even they acknowledge that they are not of the northern tribe. So those are two very important consensus. So now that we have those two consensus established, let's get into the history, okay? I'm going to go through the history. I'm going to go through the intent or the motive, into proving that the Hispanics and the natives are the 10 tribes, and then we're going to go into scripture. All right, so first, let's get, where am I starting at here? First, let's get 1 Kings and 11. Let's see here. Boom, 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 for as much. So, surely when the kingdom, Edomite, rather the Median sister, Salakia. I've got scripture here, and Solomon. Okay, right here. Right here. Albeit, no, because I forced that he shall. Oh, right here. Here you go. This is 11 and 29. And so what I'm going to do here, this is going to show you the prophecy that of the split. So this is before the split, and this is the prophet Ahijah showing Jeroboam, who was an Ephraimite, a so-called Puerto Rican, that he would be king of the northern tribes of Israel. So this is verse 29. And it came to pass at the time when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem that the prophet Ahijah, the Shilonite, found him in the way, and he had clad himself with a new garment. And they too were alone in the field. And Ahijah caught the new garment that was on him and rent it in 12 pieces. So he broke his garment in 12 pieces. 31. And he said to Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith Yahweh, the power of Israel, behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and will give 10 tribes to thee. But he shall have one tribe for my servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all of the tribes of Israel, because they have forsaken me and have worshipped Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, Chemosh, the god of the Moabites, and Milcom, the god of the children of Ammon, and have not walked in my ways, to do that which is right in mine eyes, and to keep my statutes and my judgments, as David did his father. Howbeit, I will not take the whole kingdom out of his hand, but I will make him prince all the days of his life, for David my servant's sake, whom I chose, because he kept my commandments and my statutes. But I will take the kingdom out of his son's hand, and will give it unto thee, even 10 tribes. So because Solomon had constructed altars and started worshiping after the gods of the heathen nations, the Most High, through the prophet Ahijah, was showing Jeroboam that he would get the 10 tribes of Israel. Now, those 10 tribes are the so-called natives and the Hispanics. And the reason for this was because, again, Solomon had built up altars going after the heathen gods. So here I've established the prophecy, right? And then also I do want to bring into mind that Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, told Abraham that the descendants of Israel would be scattered throughout the world and would be innumerable as the sand, right? So this is the prophecy here. Okay, so now we're going to go into 1 Kings. Matter of fact, let's just stay on that one. Nope, Salakia. Let's just go on to the next chapter. The other one's got like the super old King James, which there's nothing wrong with it, but it can be confusing. So now that we've shown the prophecy of the split, we're going to show you the split here. Okay, so in Rehoboam, who was the son of Solomon, And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel will come to Shechem to make him king. And it came to pass when Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who was yet in Egypt, heard of it, because Jeroboam was put over the labor force by King Solomon, but Jeroboam was trying to undermine King Solomon, and so King Solomon banished him into Egypt. So Jeroboam, the Ephraimite, who is to come to be the first king of the northern tribes, he's in Egypt. So when he hears that there's going to be a new king over all of Israel, he comes out. So verse 3, that they sent and called him, and Jeroboam and all the congregation of Israel came and spoke to Rehoboam, speaking, thy fathers made our yoke grievous. Look, I'm not, well, yeah. Now therefore make thou the grievous service of thy father and his heavy yoke, which he put upon us, lighter, and we shall serve thee. So then Rehoboam tells him to come back. So basically, the Israelites, all of Israel is telling Rehoboam that, hey, your dad was charging us a bunch of taxes. Can you please take it easy on us? And if you do that, we will be your servants. Okay, so Rehoboam, he goes to the council of the older men, and they consulted, and the older men say, hey, lighten up on the load, and these people will be your servants. And then he goes to the council of the younger men, and the younger men say, hey, no, man, don't listen to them, because if you listen to them, then they're basically going to think that they can walk all over you. So what ends up happening, here's the split here. This is what he tells them. He says, and now, whereas my father did lade you with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father has chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. So Rehoboam goes back to Israel and says, look, I'm not going to make things easier for you. I'm going to make things tougher for you. Right? So then, let me see here. So when verse 16, so when all Israel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, the people answered the king, saying, what portion have we in David? Neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel. Now see to thine own house, David. So Israel departed unto their tents. But as for the children of Israel, which dwell in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them. So here's the split. 10 tribes went into Samaria, and then the rest of the tribes stayed in Judah, stayed in Jerusalem. So here's a split. You have the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. The southern kingdom are the so-called blacks, and the northern kingdom are the Hispanics and the natives. Okay, so then what ends up happening is verse 18. King Rehoboam sent Adoram, who was over the tribute. So he sends Adoram to the northern tribes to try to collect money, and all Israel being the northern tribes, stoned him. And then he died. Therefore, King Rehoboam made speech to get his. So basically, Rehoboam is about to go to battle against the northern kingdom. But verse 22. But the word of Yahweh came unto Shemaiah, the man of the Most High, saying, speak unto Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, king of Judah, and unto all the house of Judah and Benjamin, and to the remnant of the people. Thus saith Yahweh, you shall not go up nor fight against your brethren, the children of Israel. Return every man to his house. For this thing is from me. They hearken therefore to the word of Yahweh, and return to depart according to the word of Yahweh. So the southern tribe was about to go to war with the northern tribe, but the Most High said, don't do it. This is foretold by me. So that's the split. Let's take it a step back here. We have the consensus that there are 10 lost tribes. Okay, we have the consensus that all of the human race started in the Middle East, all right? And then just to get a little deeper into the Middle East sentiment, Alexander the Great, when he started conquering from Macedonia onto the parts onto the outer skirts of modern day India, he thought that he was at the edge of the world. You see, that is what you would call the edge of the known world. All of the people at that time at the time of King Alexander, to them, they didn't know about America. So when Alexander, the Greek, had conquered all the way onto modern day India, he thought he had conquered the world, which, I mean, he did. He had conquered the known world, but there was also the Americas, a place where no man dwelt. Okay, so now we have the consensus of the 10 tribes. We have the split here between the 10 tribes, all right, which were mentioned in 1 Kings 11. And then we have the southern tribe, all right? So now we have the split. Now you see where those 10 tribes are. Now we're going to go into 2 Kings 17. Okay, so now this is when the northern kingdom gets taken into captivity by the Assyrian Empire, okay, by Shalmaneser V. In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hoshea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. So Samaria was a capital where the northern kingdom stayed at, all right? And when scripture states Israel is in reference to the northern tribe, all right? So, and he did that which was evil in the sight of Yahweh, but not as the kings of Israel that were before him. Against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and Hoshea became his servants and gave him presents. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hoshea, for he had sent messengers to Suh, king of Egypt, and brought no presents to the king of Assyria, as he had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison. So Hoshea, the king of the northern kingdom, was trying to make a treaty with the king of Egypt to get out of the Assyrian captivity. Shalmaneser finds out about it and takes him captive. Verse 5, then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria and placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gazan in the city of the Medes. All right. So now, after the split, what ends up happening next? The northern kingdom goes into captivity by the Assyrian Empire, and they get taken captive into modern day Iraq, places like Nineveh, places like Babylon. All right. So now we fast forward. Okay. Now we fast forward just a bit more, because now we're going to get a sneak peek into the first mentioning of the goods brought over to Israel by Solomon. Okay? The reason I showed that video in the beginning is because the northern tribes, the so-called Aztecs, had gold. You hear even Asher. There's that famous Disney movie called El Dorado, where it's basically a town made of gold. That's because the Americas, namely the southern part of the Americas, was very rich in gold. And so in this chapter, we're going to see where the gold of Ophir came from, because Ophir was used to describe America as well. And I'm going to show you that in the scriptures. So bear with me a couple of seconds here. Right here. 1 Kings 10 and 11. And the navy also of Hiram that brought gold from Ophir brought in from Ophir great plenty of almug trees and precious stones. So, before the split here, which we just read about, all of Israel knew of gold coming in from another land, right? So, let's continue on here. Beside that, merchantman Solomon had 3 shekels. More of the king made the throne, 12 lions. The king, okay, here you go. It says right here, for the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram. Once in 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver, ivory and apes and peacocks. Now, all of these are native to the southern Americas. So, let me pose a question to you. Well, no. First, I'll pose this statement, which is a fact. Everyone agrees that Solomon was the wisest man to ever live. And we know Solomon to be, Yahushai in one of his past lives. So let me ask you this. If anyone was to discover another facet of the earth, wouldn't it be the wisest person that ever lived? The answer would be yes, right? Because it wasn't Columbus. You see, for a lot of you newcomers, the first thing that comes to your mind is, no, Solomon didn't discover that. It was Columbus. How? Let me ask you this. How could Columbus discover a land where people were already inhabiting it? It doesn't make sense. He didn't discover anything. It was new to him. But the people that were there, the natives, the Hispanics, those are the 10 tribes. And those 10 tribes got there because we, through the wisdom of Solomon, knew about the other land. And I'm going to get into that, okay? So, now, the reason that we're in this chapter right now is because we're establishing the motive, all right? The motive or the ability for Israel to travel into the Americas, namely the southern part of the Americas, because that was the route. We went from the Horn of Africa, and then we went around the bottom of Africa, and then we went into places like Cuba, and then places like Peru and Southern America. Those were the Americas that were first inhabited by us. Okay? Now, I think here what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into Ophir now, because this is where a lot of the gold was coming from, all right? Ophir, there you go, Ophir. So this is Ophir in the Wikipedia. Ophir is a port or region mentioned in the Bible famous for its wealth. Its existence is attested to by an inscribed pottery found in 1948, which reads Gold of Ophir. Now, anytime you read of the gold of Ophir, you hear about its richness and its delicateness, its greatness. That's why I showed that video at the front, because the gold of Ophir was in the Americas, and who had it? What civilization had it? It was the Aztecs. And those Aztecs knew about the gold of Ophir because King Solomon had been getting it prior to the split. So I'm going to get, some theorized locations here. All right, because this is going to show you that even though, if you're listening to this message, even though you may not understand or you can't accept it because the Most High has shut your ear, even though you don't get it, Christopher Columbus, who you probably think is some kind of great man, he knew it. This is Americas. In a letter written in May 1500, Peter Martyr claimed that Christopher Columbus identified Hispaniola with Ophir. And we know Hispaniola to be those islands, Cuba and, parts of the Bermudas, right? Furthermore, it says the theologian Benito Arias Montano proposed finding Ophir in the name of Peru, reasoning that the native Peruvians were thus descendants of Ophir and Shem, right? So, furthermore, the California gold rush boomtown Ophir was renamed after the biblical source of Solomon's treasure. That was not so much, but the main thing here is that Christopher Columbus knew where the gold was coming from, and he knew where the 10 tribes were. All right, there's a very popular YouTube video where it shows Christopher Columbus in a movie snippet saying that he knows that there's another land, and one of the ways that he knows about the other land is because of the book of 2nd Ezra, which we're going to get. Matter of fact, let me see if there's... before we get into 2nd Ezra, let's get 1 Kings 9 and 26, because it talks about the knowledge of Solomon. It says, and King Solomon made a navy of ships in Ezion Geber, which is beside Eloth, on the shore of the Red Sea in the land of Edom. Then let's get verse 27. And Hiram sent in the navy his servants, shipmen that had knowledge of the sea, with the servants of Solomon. I might just go into view chapter. And they came to Ophir and fetched from them gold 420 talents and brought it to King Solomon. So Solomon, the wisest man, knew where the gold was, knew about Ophir, which is America, and he was having gold brought to him. Okay, so here we're establishing the knowledge and the motive, the knowledge of the land of Ophir, which is the Americas, and then we're also establishing the motive, the ability, which are the ships. The wisest man knew it. Now, let me show you another verse which talks about Jehoshaphat trying to go into Ophir, and we're going to see what happens here, and then we're going to compare it to 2 Ezra 13 and 40. All right, this is 1 Kings 22 and 48. Jehoshaphat made ships of Tarshish to go to Ophir for gold, but they went not, for the ships were broken at Ezion Geber. So here, prior to go, so here you have another king trying to go to Ophir, the Americas, but when he tries to go into the Americas, his ships were broken. That's very important, okay? That's very important, all right? So this is 2 Ezra 13. So now, before we get into this, let's take a quick step back. We have the split. We have the consensus. We have the motive, which is the gold. We have the ability, which is the ships and the knowledge of the Americas. Okay, now Scripture is gonna show us the history. Okay, this is 2 Ezra 13, verse 40, and 39. And whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, these are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hoshea the king, whom Shalmaneser the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land. So 2 Ezra, he's seeing a multitude, right? The great gathering, and the angel is telling him this multitude which you're seeing are the 10 tribes that were taken away captive. All right? And this lines up perfectly with 1 Kings 17, verse 41. But this talking about the Israelites, the northern kingdom, namely, but they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen, which are the Assyrians, and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. So the northern tribes, all right, after the Assyrian captivity, said, hey, we're done here. We're going to go into another land. All right. Verse 42, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. So again, the northern kingdom was taken into captivity by the Assyrian Empire because they went off, and then they said, all right, we just got our asses beat. Let's try to start all over. Let's go into this other land. And when we get into this other land, that's when we're gonna, start to practice our commandments. We just got our ass whooped. We learned our lesson. Let's get this fresh start. Verse 43, and they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. That's the Horn of Africa. Verse 42, for the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood till they were passed over. You see, one thing about the Horn of Africa is that the Horn of Africa is a very narrow sea of water, and there's a lot of shipwrecks there. And I showed this in 1 Kings 22:48 because, first off, it says right here, the Most High showed them signs and held still the flood till they were passed over. So for them to get through the Horn of Africa, that in itself was a great accomplishment that could only be done with the help of the Most High. And we saw what happened earlier in 1 Kings 22:48 when Jehoshaphat tried that. He couldn't go to Ophir because the ships were broken. So the Most High, again, the Most High, through his power, through his long arm, it says he held the flood and showed them signs. He showed them where to go, man. Because this was all prophecy. The split was prophecy, as we saw in 1 Kings 11. Now we're going to go to verse 45. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Ar-Surath. So earlier, we read in the book of Kings that they would bring back the gold of Ophir and apes and peacocks in 3 years, right? Because it would take them a year and a half to go there, which, that's what it says in verse 45. It would take a year and a half to get there and a year and a half back. So the Israelites, the northern tribe namely, they knew where they were going because they had the knowledge through the understanding that was given to Solomon and his navy. So that's how they knew that it would take them a year and a half. And through Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai holding the floods, he let them go through the Horn of Africa, where in the past, the King Jehoshaphat couldn't. Okay? So let's continue on. And the same region is called Ar-Surath. Now, I'm going to take a quick pause here because Ar-Surath is America. See, let's go back here into verse 41 and go further into a country where never mankind dwelt. Ar-Surath. So now, one quick break that I want to take here is we have to link up the Apocrypha with the Bible. We don't have to because that's not what makes it true. But when you can show people that all of this in the Apocrypha was also mentioned in the Bible, there's no excuse, right? So I'm going to show you Ar-Surath in the Bible. Let's go into the blue letter. First of all, let's see if we can find Ar-Surath, because I know a lot of people will. Ar-Surath. Can we find it? Oh, there is no. Oh, see, it's not in the Bible. You're wrong. No, I'm not. I'm going to show you here. Ar-Surath. Okay, because I'm going to show you something else. In the book, in Hiram sent them Hosea, okay. Hosea. When you go over here, 17, happy are them. And Solomon told her, right here. Hosea. As you go through the Bible, we understand that the Bible was translated, to Latin, to Greek, things like that, right? And so the words, sometimes there are different words used. Like, for example, Ezra, Ezras, it's the same people, but in the translation, the wording was changed. So the reason I bring that up is because you're not going to find Ar-Surath in the scriptures, in the Bible. But I'm going to show you how to find it. This is Deuteronomy 29 and 18. And again, this is prophecy. 29 and 28. And Yahweh rooted them out of their land in anger and in wrath and in great indignation, and cast them into another land as it is this day. So the 10 tribes were prophesied to be split and sent off into another land. That's Ar-Surath. No, it's not. No, it's not. Yes, it is. This is Ar-Surath, because Ar-Surath means another land. Another, Aher, land, Arath. Aher, Rath. Aher, Rath. That's Ar-Surath. And it was prophesied since Deuteronomy 29 and 28. Right after the curses. Still talking about the curses. Aher, Rath. Aher, Rath. Another land. So now we've linked up the Apocrypha, Ar-Surath, with the scriptures in Deuteronomy 29. So now we've established that Ar-Surath is the other land. Verse 46, then dwelt they there until the latter time, and now when they shall begin to come. Now, verse 46 is talking about us. It's talking about now. The 10 tribes are still in the land of Ar-Surath, another land not known at the time. All right? So now I've shown the history. I've shown the consensus. I've shown the ability. I've shown the motive. I've shown Aseroth in the scriptures, okay? And in the video, which we saw, I'm going to show it again. In this video, what did we see here? What did we see? We saw gold. Gold like had never been seen, he said. Now, who had knowledge of that gold? That's the gold of Ophir, man. All right? Now, let's get one more video here.
Calendar is portrayed in the Dresden Codex. This rare book from Mayan antiquity describes the calendar in relation to Mars' movements across the sky. The Dresden Codex is one of 4 remaining books that the Maya wrote. It is, in many regards, an astronomical almanac. There are many different sections of the book that talk about different astronomical phenomena. One of them is the planet Mars. There is an almanac near the end of the book that breaks up days into 10 groups of 78 days, equaling 780 days, the synodic period of Mars. In other words, the time in which it takes Mars.
The time in which it takes Mars to do a full rotation and go back to where the human eye can see it. So the Mayans and the Aztecs are known for what? For graphing the stars and the calendar. Okay? So now we're starting to see hints of these people knowing about the gold of Ophir, right? That was the first video. And now we're bringing into recognition that these Mayans, these so-called indigenous people that were already here, were very good with telling of the time. Now, why do I bring that up? Because that's one of our descriptions. See, 1 Chronicles 12 and 32. And of the children of Issachar, which are the so-called Mexicans, means, and Issachar means he is hired. And of the children of Issachar, which were men that had understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do, the heads of them were 200, and all their brethren were at their commandments. So Issachar, the so-called Mexicans, which were at one point were the Aztecs, were able to read the times, were able to read the stars. So here we see 2 distinct qualities lining up with the so-called Mexicans, man. And that is because the people that were in the Americas when Christopher Columbus showed up were the Israelites that had fled from the Assyrian captivity. And that brings us back into those 2 original consensus. All right? And those 2 original consensus are that the human race started in the Middle East. So how did we get over here? Wouldn't it take a wise person with knowledge? Wouldn't it take the wisest person that ever lived to be able to explore a new land? The answer is yes. It would take a genius. Well, we know who that genius was. Scripture shows us, and it tells us it was wisdom. Salakia, it was Solomon who was the wisest person to ever live. It was Yahushua. So now we have the first consensus that we went from the Middle East to obviously we're here now. We got here because of the wisdom of Solomon. And 2, we have this. We've now shown the second consensus that there are 10 tribes of Israel, and I've showed you who those people are. Because the Aztecs didn't just show up. The Aztecs got here from somewhere. You see, this is a big thing in the northern tribe here. People take pride, at one point when I was in darkness, I took pride in that too. I'm a so-called Issacharite. I'm an Aztec warrior, Aztec pride, especially in the California prison system, man. Like, people get people get those tattoos, the Mexica shield, that's a sign of war, showing that you've put in work and stuff like that, But we ink that on ourselves, and we take pride because we say we're Aztecs, but man, Aztecs were, yes, we were Aztecs, but a point earlier before that, man, we were Israelites. We're celebrating ourselves in our pagan and in our lost state, man. We were sacrificing to the sun god We were sacrificing to the sun god, and we were killing our seed and tearing each other's hearts out, man. That's nothing to be proud about. But before that, how did the Aztecs get here? The Aztecs got here shown in 2nd Ezra 13 and 40. We are the lost 10 tribes that went into the southern Americas, and the Edomites know this, man. Because even if you don't believe this, this is a article from ScienceAlert.com back in 2021. Even if our people can accept this, that's okay. Because that means you got a big ass target, man. You're concrete that has been hardened. There is no fixing you. You must be destroyed. That's all right, man. But check this out, man. Because even Esau knows, man. In a strange turn of events, researchers in Mexico have announced they plan to rebury an unusual archaeological monument found in the outskirts of Mexico City, covering up an important historical discovery until some unknown time in the future. So wait a minute. You're telling me that the greediest bastard who will pillage a country for oil found gold, and now for the goodness of his heart he wants to cover it up again? Wow. That doesn't raise any red flags. Check this out. Small tunnel and total 11 symbols have been built up. 1% other part researchers in the floor and the other part. Everything is Roman and Spanish influence, right? So so basically, they found tunnels that were built around the city of Mexico to prevent flooding, right? And of course, Issachar is too stupid, in their mind. So it's all, what do they say? It's all Roman. It's all Spanish design. Everything is Roman and Spanish influence, it says. These stupid Mexicans can't do it. My battery's about to die. But now it says right here, basically, researchers from INA have now announced that due to lack of funds to properly construct the exhibit and protect the structure, the recently discovered tunnel will now have to be covered up once more. We don't got enough money, so we can't show you your history. We got to blow it up and cover it up. They know what's down there, man, and they're hiding it. So the 10 tribes, man, the 10 tribes are Israel, and there's proof of that. Psalms 4 and 2, O ye sons of men. And who are the sons of men? The heathen and the wicked. O ye sons of men, how long will you turn my glory into shame? His glory is Israel. You keep saying that, these tunnels couldn't have been built by Mexicans. It's all Roman and Spanish. It's all Edomites. How long will you love vanity and seek after leasing? Let's get Psalm 4 and 2 before my battery dies. I hope it doesn't die. I got a charger right here. I'm tripping. Slovakia. Psalms 4 and 2. Let's get that word leasing. All right? Because it's asking them, how long are you going to turn my glory into lies and falsehood and deceive, man? The sons of men are the heathens who think that we're just indigenous people, man. That's not who we are. We're the lost tribes, man. We are the lost 10 tribes of Israel. And Christopher Columbus knew this, man. These are his voyages. His first voyage is the blue one. He left from Spain there, Portugal. He left from Spain, and first place he landed on Cuba. What he would call as Hispaniola. Then he went back. His second voyage was the red one. Was the orange one. Went back and then went into Central America, man. This is where he found the natives, man. This is where he found Gad. He found Asher and, Issachar, man. Ephraim. We left that land through the Horn of Africa, man. Matter of fact, let me pull up the Horn of Africa maps. I do this real quick. No, not that one. We'll get it. Boom. This is how we left. We left through here. Oh, it's trying to show right here. Abba, Jedediah, Medina. Aqaba, Al-Banawa, Saudi Arabia, Iraq. Here you go. We left through here, man. And then from there, we went through the Horn of Africa. We came down here to a place a year and a half. And we came here. All right. And then from here, we traveled up. And we kept traveling up and up. And even into New Mexico. And I'm going to show you something cool about the discovery in New Mexico here. All right. This is the rock found in Las Lunas, New Mexico. And what this rock has is, you will see this rock has the Paleo-Hebrew written in it. And what does that rock have in it that was found in Las Lunas, New Mexico? Channel your inner Indiana Jones and visit Mystery Stone located in State Trust lands, 60 miles west of Lunas, also known as the Las Lunas Decalogue Stone and Commandments. This 80-ton boulder of volcanic basalt bears an inscription which is believed to be an abbreviated version of the Ten Commandments written in Hebrew, but not just Hebrew, not the Yiddish, but this is in the Paleo-Hebrew, you guys. So how is it that the Paleo-Hebrew had the Ten Commandments written in the Las Lunas Stone? How was it that there's Israelite writing in New Mexico? How was it that there's fine gold in the bottom temples of the Aztecs? How is it that the Aztecs were known to me were known as reader of the times, which was Issachar? How is it that we got to this place? How is it that we had the wisdom to know where this place was? Through Solomon. Who are the 10 tribes, you guys? We are the 10 tribes, man. We're not Aztecs. Our culture goes back further than that. We have a better culture than a fucking pagan era in our history, man. So there you have it. The northern tribes are the so-called natives and the so-called Hispanics mentioned in 2nd Ezra. I've shown you the motive, which was for us to practice our own laws. All right. I've shown you the ability, the seas, the navy of Solomon. I've showed you the proof, which is in the scripture. And I've showed you even more proof, which is the Las Lunas rock. I've showed you scripture. That's all that you need. You know what I'm saying? If you can't get it, well, then the Most High is not with you, man. Just continue on in Babylon. I hope this lesson has been edifying. With that, I say shalom.